Hi, and it's time to discuss the Wonder Girl of Canada, Summer McIntosh, who won 3 gold medals. All right, so here goes. I have an engineering hall discussion saved for her individual medley win, and um, let me just get organized a little here. All right, my question was: is spandex a polymer material? Swimmers are looking for an addition on their speed. And of course, as you notice, our swimsuits are till here only, but the swimmers, both men and women, wear short. I mean, there's a short extension to the swimsuit, and I was wondering, how do these swimming costumes contribute to it? Since 2009, it has been polyurethane, a plastic. Spandex is a copolymer. Uh, till 2009, it was a spandex lycra blend. It's there's a Z in it. It's called, and three, plastic is a specific type of polymer comprised of a long chain of polymers. Polymers, on the other hand, are made up of uniform molecules that are smaller than plastic molecules, but are nevertheless polymers. It's like protein and enzyme. Enzymes are proteins, but longer chains of proteins. And there's the structure of one molecule of polyurethane from Lawrence Industries. Am I showing you the right way? That you can see here. There's an amide molecule, actually, if you can see, a CONH bond, and then a CH2 bond, and a CH2, CH2 double O, NHC double bond O, and then another O, and CH2, CH2O, and this, of course, polymer, n number of chains. And her Penny, sorry, I'm reverting to old times, all right? Well, Penny Oleksiak is not the Wonder Girl anymore. It's Summer McIntosh, just a 17-year-old teenager. So her first, which was the butterfly, wasn't it? In the individual medley? She took 26.25 seconds. And then the backstroke, she took 30.35 seconds. All of these 50-meter speed, 50-meter distances. And then the breaststrokes, 77.02. And the freestyle, I've brought this down to 0.7094. I mean, combine the two. 0.70, so 0.7094 seconds. And for a total of 2 minutes, 6.56 seconds. That was the time she climbed. And so velocity for the first 50 meters, I wanted to take freestyle because everybody does freestyle. And I actually have a swimming course from Arizona State University. I even have a paper for the last Olympics, which I worked on for the last Olympics, on my LinkedIn webpage, where I have discussed the technique taught to me and the different technique taught to the Canadian swim team, which is working really well. We were taught to take breaths every other time we came up. But you would do this and then come up and that sort of thing. Or if I'm getting, and here I think once in 3 times or something, they make them take a breath. And I noticed I've made all these observations and discussed what should have been Penny Oleksiak's strategy for the next Olympics. But we had other swimmers take this advice, I guess. So because we had a successful run at this Paris 2024 Olympics. All right. And so we'll consider the force going for Summer McIntosh. So her velocity for the first 50 meters of butterfly stroke was 1.904762 meter per second, of course, meter per second. And drag slows her. And this I just thought, because there's a lot of drag force, and the other one, the wave drag, and drag is resistance to movement, sort of, when you're swimming. So while I'd like to think Newton's first law of motion keeps her accelerating, and there's the force of momentum, which also is going for her. But it's all, drag is a higher force, and as they swim, they create turbulence. The swimmers, because water is, a swimming pool water is a laminar. I mean, it's not even flowing as such. Some here and there, it's being cleaned up automatically. Then through the holes, you see those. Anyways, so the drag force is 158,049.9 newtons. And the drag force, the formula for the drag force is 0.5 multiplied by the coefficient of drag multiplied by the density of water. And then the area, and I took the area of the lane, 50 meters multiplied by 25 meters by 8 lanes, which is 4.25 meters, and the velocity square, which was one for the first 50 meters only, 1.904762 whole square. And that gave me the force of drag. And the coefficient of drag came from a paper which had looked at young children and correlated by a certain methodology, calculated the force. And then force is coefficient of drag is dimensionless. It's the constant which combines these two. Force of drag is proportional to half rho v square, multiplied by the area, and that's the proportionality constant, coefficient of drag. And I would like to think, in Summer's favor, the accelerating force is equal to the force of momentum. She keeps accelerating, better times. Next Olympics, well, that's too stressful. Poor thing, she's just finished one Olympics now. And in for all the so she had strokes in freestyle, and that's the turnover number, 35 strokes to cover 50 meters. Ain't bad, eh? And the first, of course, the first few meters is like a floating thing. And I have some more calculations and of Excel spreadsheets where I looked at Reynolds number. Reynolds number. Wait a second. What's this? And Reynolds number. And looked at tau. Tau of the force of tau is the acceleration due to gravity multiplied by y divided by the viscosity of the fluid divided by the distance, which is 1 to 50. So it's progressing. So all my books, all these books help me. McCabe and Smith. And this again, I had it yesterday. And this Sherwood. Sherwood is a power force, was a power force in mass transfer, I think. Yeah, you have all his distillation columns and Sherwood stuff. Anyway, tau is a shear stress. So shear stress, shear force is equal to acceleration. And I did not consider the limits. The whole equation is tau divided by acceleration due to gravity multiplied by mu is equal to dy by du, the initial velocity. All right, and um, I integrated this. I think it's du by dy. Let me just check. All right, that might be helpful. Du by dy, dy by du by dy makes sense. Newton's law of viscosity is Newton's law of viscosity is, yeah, du by d. All right, yeah, tau. All right, d. This is for cylindrical coordinates. Du by dy. Correct. So du by dy is equal to tau multiplied by mu, dividing the acceleration due to gravity. So du. So integrating this, y goes to the other side, and u stays here. And then I solve for tau. All right, so shear stress. And I did not consider the limits because constant of integration would have to have the limits. And we hope that there is no Olympic athlete has any limits on how well he or she performs. So no limits of integration. So anyway, numerical integration, and it was a linear curve, tau versus y. That's a distance. So slowly, tau increases with increasing distance, which makes sense. Shear forces are acting. They're creating turbulence. Shear forces are acting. And the other one was velocity versus y. And again, velocity, they try to do better. Right? I mean, they have to catch up with the others. In case Penny is, sorry, I keep saying Penny. Summer McIntosh started at 1.7 meters per second. And she went into she finished the first 50 meters at 1.7, now 1.904762. So that actually, at that, the drag force is kind of all right, and her speed and everything, 6 meters, 4 to 5, 1.905 was at 43 meters in my just by numerical integration method, and the drag force was heavier than actually what's a quantitative solution. What's a quantitative solution? All right, which means that she was her swimming costume was working for her, cutting down the drag force, and I sought to prove how high Reynolds number could decrease the viscous forces, and this is from the internet. The measure of the importance of pressure forces relative to shear. It's a measure of the importance of pressure forces relative to shear forces. L, length of the pool, multiplied by velocity of the swimmer, multiplied by density of the fluid, divided by the viscosity of the fluid. That's the Reynolds number. So again, velocity is dependent on velocity. So you're creating turbulence. That I already told you, right? And we'll go to my next set of calculations. And I sought to prove how the material polyurethane is good, is a good material. And of course, higher amount you spend, you get a better blend, better swimming costumes. But money is always a factor. And they have to excel. You see, the swimmers have to try to excel. And all right, this is what I discussed. Efficiently work. How do we manufacture efficiently working swimsuits? So if there's a unit operations lab plot which has log of drag coefficient versus Reynolds number. And from here, I got the idea that the swimming material, along with the swimmer's movement, cuts down the Reynolds number. And I said this earlier. So, and from the paper, I had drag coefficient equals 4.1. I had subtracted the confidence interval from the, it was 0.54 plus or minus 0.13. And I just subtracted the confidence interval. But the U of T operation plot is for spherical objects. And Newton's first law of motion can't lead to the force of drag. All right, it's F equals ma, but you would hope for uniform acceleration if Newton's first law was put into effect, so to speak, by I plotted Reynolds. I made again numerical calculation with increasing distance in the pool, 50 meters, from beginning with 1 meter, and then the velocity I took at 1.7 meter per second and increased it, and Reynolds number goes up to, by the time, so much of so by it goes up to it progressively increases, and at 1.905, which is the a key interest number of key interest, the Reynolds number is 784.41176, and again the distance is 46 meter only there. And then I took the drag force, again I numerically increased it with CD as 0.41, and that increases too, of course, to be expected, because V square is dependent on V square, and it goes up to quite a high number. Again, it's all these are linear curves, and I did increasing drag coefficient and came up with drag force. Increasing drag coefficient leads to again higher drag force, which is kind of interesting, because higher drag force than a constant drag coefficient. There's a Froude number, which is the wave drag, which calculates the wave drag. It's the velocity by square root of acceleration due to gravity multiplied by L, the length of the pool. The wave, that's a smaller number than the drag force. Wave drag. So, which means that maybe, you're creating waves with your own swimming strokes, but the athletes are creating waves with their own. And now I come to the interesting part. I went ahead and looked at my own swimsuit. And I have a nice surprise for you, but you'll have to wait for it. My mass of the wet swimsuit was 200 grams. It didn't drip water. There was another paper which I referred to, actually a couple of Iranian authors on it. And I'm an East Indian. I come across East Indian papers quite a bit, but I had a couple of colleagues, colleagues, who were Iranian, male colleagues. And they have a female colleague too, and a female Iranian colleague too. So they all kind of have bring me back pleasant memories of the Persian culture. My swimsuit came from Christina in Sobel, right near Sobel Beach. You can just right across, of course, at the entrance. And so I calculated the length of the bodysuit, the swimsuit, and the breadth, and so wetsuit was 200 grams. So volume, so the density came out to be 0.5376 gram per centimeter cube. Polyurethane from the internet say is a 0.008 to 1.39 gram per mil, and the paper said surface tension of water and air, and that has to be considered. So surface tension of water and air, swimming, of course, like in diving, it's a two fluid. And I thought about it because because for the arms and arms sort of and legs of here, then feet, not legs, feet, and they come out of the water. So this is the surface tension of water and air is 72 millinewton per meter, and I did a certain experiment because of the paper. The paper which said that you should see what the coefficient of drag is. Polyurethane, it did not say. There's nothing on the internet which says what the coefficient of drag for polyurethane is. So I know the drag force for Summer McIntosh's first 50 meters because I think it's a fun exercise. You could do it, time it and everything, and do the rest of them. And so I'm sure her coach is going to do it. I bet you. What's the going bet on this? All right. So fan speed. I took one of these fans. There's one upstairs. My swimsuit was wet, and the experiment had said there has to be a wind velocity, and then you see the drag force on the swimsuit, force of drag. And so I hung it on easel, and believe it or not, it moves a little, even without the just a little, and flapping a little. And I calculated this, and I have I'll get you this. This is this can be picked up in a convenience store. It measures the pressure of a car tire, and this measured my fan velocity. And internet converters, they convert it into force, and then you can convert it into velocity and everything. So that was all quite fairly straightforward. It took a little bit of figuring out, because there's nothing on the internet which says, my books don't say. And so with velocity 1, with speed 1, my swimsuit, wet swimsuit, was flapping a little, light flaps, about 4 times per second, and a little bit, I thought about a 0.15 centimeter distance, back and forth. But I added all of those, because then that would be oscillatory motion and everything. So it increased a little, obviously to be expected, right? With the speed of the fan increasing, 0.2 centimeter, and then with 3.3 centimeter, and there's a helpful equation on the internet which says the velocity is equal to 1096.7 multiplied by square root of hv divided by the density of air, and square root of hv is the velocity pressure from the fan or measuring device. So again, I had converted all this psi, atmosphere to velocity pressure, and this was all internet websites. And velocity pressure was what I had measured, 0.13 atmosphere, 0.2 atmosphere, 0.272 atmosphere, 123 speed fan speeds. And this gave 3 velocities. And using that velocity, I came up with a really interesting my Excel calculations. With these velocities, I came up with the coefficient of drag, a drag would be the force, the fat, the zero point 0.15 centimeter movement back and forth 4 times, and substituting that as the force of drag, and the velocity which I spoke about just now, a 1071, what was that? 96.7, and then that velocity, I calculated the coefficient of drag for all three, and I think this is Lycra. The what is used for by parachuters and guess what? I think what the Tom Cruise, when he did his bungee jumping on the closing ceremony of the Paris Summer 2024 Olympics, must have been wearing Lycra. All right, because this coefficient of drag is 1.35899 exponential minus 5 and 1.46122 exponential minus 5 and 1.87947 exponential minus 5. I think it's used for aerodynamics, and that's what I thought. And decided that it's very light. I think it's been pulled out for, but urethane is better, I guess. Polyurethane is even better, obviously. And we'll see if they keep clocking better and better times. It is, but it's always the key, right? The blend and everything. So Lycra and maybe a bit of spandex, and that's what is in my swimsuit. And so the lower the coefficient of drag, the better it is for a swimmer with a swimsuit. I mean, they don't need to struggle. They need to struggle a little harder, a little less hard. So that was part one, and part two is the rowing team. 8 men out because the women won silver, and that was a Quentin Tarantino movie. So so the time for the Canadian women's 8 in the 2,000 meter rowing sweeps was 5 minutes 58.84 seconds. They had a one coxswain, the lady who directed the whole speeding process, giving cues, and like a coach, but not quite a coach, just sitting there and making sure that the victory happens. And there are 8 rowers, and each oar is 12 feet long, and it goes in with its almost parallelogram like rowing portion 10 centimeters into the water, and by a scale, measuring on the computer screen, I found out in meters what the rowing, what the oars. This is done. What the oars, the length of the oar is 0.033 in the image on the screen. So it's actually 3.6576 because it's 12 feet long, and then the breadth and the length. It has a shape of a somewhat slight parallelogram. The oar moves into 10 centimeter depth of water, and assuming equal divisions of rowing energy between all the 8 women or 8 men, as the case may be, the velocity of the boat is equal to 2000 by 358.84, which is just the 5 minutes, 5.84 seconds in seconds, all in seconds, 5 minutes. Yeah, and so it is 5.573515 meter per second for each row. Equal division, right? And distance by each rower is 250 meters, 2000 meters, 8 rowers. And using Newton's law of viscosity, the force because rowing is, the boat is going this way and they're rowing backwards. The force is is a negative, is minus. -1 is opposite to the movement of the boat. So you push the water and then the boat moves forward. -1.492 to the exponential -13 newtons. And what did I want to say? There's the rest of it is from the internet. I thought one key observation I had to do about swimming, going back to swimming, is that men have, more of sort of a little more to account for in terms of weight. So the lycra and spandex might work better. It's a valid point. The biology dictates the biology. So and anyways, and I'll recommend some internet websites, which Rowing explained, which say that width of oar lock span, etc., longitudinal position, and oar length is oar lock spread is directly proportional to oar length, and this is linear again. And oar lock spread, oar collar, and there's a whole lot of it. Spoon blade versus flat blade oars, U-shaped oar locks versus round. If it could be a fun exercise, calculating which would be better, which could be faster, and then trying it out if you are into some of these sports. And my only one more observation is, I was looking at which material would be better, and I thought wood. Wood is apparently the mandatory material, but fiberglass would be better because its density is higher. I think fiberglass is higher. Density is higher, so the Reynolds number would be higher with fiberglass, which means that more of water would be pushed and the speed would increase. So fiberglass would be a better material, but somebody has to take it up with the Olympic Committee, I guess, because they come up with the rules and what should be done, what should not be done. So fiberglass is the way to go, and lycra spandex might be good. Next time, Summer McIntosh, more medals from all of from all of the Canadian athletes, and thank you for listening to me.